Now then, let's talk about this migration situation, because the question is Keir Starmer actually going to smash the gangs? How is he going to manage this? What is he going to do in the new year in terms of migration? We've had a slightly different view from Lee there before the break. Small boat arrivals hit a winter record this week. 609 migrants made the crossing on a single day. They made the dangerous channel journey in 9 dinghies on Thursday, despite the chilly conditions. It marks the highest daily number of migrant arrivals in any December, January or February since the crisis began in 2018. Some of the statistics are really shocking. Total 2024 boat crossings have now surpassed 34,000. That is 19% more than the 29,090 at the same point last year. Well, Keir Starmer has insisted, his spokesman says, that of course these numbers need to be reduced, touting the work of the new Border Security Command. But is anything really being done? About just over a week ago, about 10 days ago, Keir Starmer made a speech and said that one of his milestones is to do with small boats, but could have become a millstone because we're asking the question about this plan, whether it's actually working. Mike Jones is from Migration Watch UK. Mike, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Great to be here.
Do you think Keir Starmer's plan is working?
No, I mean, as you say, the statistics are shocking, but I think it behoves us to look at the facts. You know, this year alone, around 35,000 have crossed the Channel, including 21,000 under Sir Keir Starmer. You know, that's a rise of nearly 20% compared to the same period last year. What does this tell us? Well, let's be blunt, Starmer isn't smashing the gangs are smashing Starmer, and there's no sign that this will change anytime soon.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel the same way and feel that actually the provisions that have been put in aren't helping, and it's just no deterrent, Mike.
No, I mean, ultimately, you need a policy of detain and deport. When illegal migrants arrive at Dover, they need to be detained and ideally deported within a 48-hour time frame. And over time, that'll have a deterrent effect and fewer people will cross the Channel. Now, what Sir Keir Starmer wants to do is he wants to tackle the supply chains. He wants to freeze dodgy bank accounts. He's effectively looking at the nuts and bolts of the gangs themselves. But this is a very difficult strategy because the gangs are decentralized, they're amorphous, they're very difficult to infiltrate. Ultimately, you're playing a game of whack-a-mole. I'm sure it'll make some difference at the margins, but it's not going to stop the illegal migration crisis.
What do you make of the changes in Syria in the last week or so? Because we now know that the processing of Syrian asylum applications has been paused. Those people are still arriving, as we know, saying they're from Syria, and they will just be held in the processing system, presumably. What's your reaction to that, Mike?
I think it's sensible. You know, ideally, if there are more refugee flows, then, Syria needs to work with the UNHCR and accommodate migrants in that part of the world. We basically cannot absorb higher numbers of refugees. And the situation in Syria is very difficult because you've got a smorgasbord of different non-state actors who are involved in governance there. And, I don't think Syria is going to transform into some Swiss-style democracy. It could actually descend into chaos. You could have a situation akin to what happened in Libya. And obviously, the number of migrants fleeing that country will increase. So I think Britain and other European nations have to protect themselves from these likely flows.
Well, Mike, it's a really interesting development, and I think that there are a lot of very, very big issues with it. I just wonder, in regard to these numbers, and the fact that it is getting worse here, and Downing Street has said this is the chaos the government inherited. We put in place a serious, credible plan to bring order to the asylum system by smashing smuggling gangs through our new Border Security Command, tackling the problem upstream with greater international collaboration and ramping up returns of those with no right to be here. I mean, let's just go through those different issues with you. Serious, credible plan?
It's a plan, but I don't think it's credible.
Smashing smuggling gangs, you've talked about that and how they're actually smashing Starmer, in your view. The Border Security Command, I mean, that's new, but it just seems to me, anyway, you're the expert, but it seems to me to be something that is simply a rebrand of what was already there. I just don't see a huge change there.
Yeah, as you say, it's a sort of repackaged version of what went on under the last Tory government. Priti Patel established the clandestine channel threat command, the CCTC, which effectively did the same thing as Starmer's organisation. It provided a joined-up approach. It brought various departments together to share information, so on and so forth. But ask yourself, did it have a huge impact on the numbers? No, it didn't, simply because people smuggling is a transnational phenomenon, and the gangs, as I pointed out previously, are highly decentralized. I mean, for this to work, the UK would have to increase its extraterritorial presence in other countries. But as we've seen with France, there's a trade-off here between doing that and those countries maintaining their national sovereignty. And of course, it would cost a lot of money.
And that international collaboration, I mean, it's a nice idea, isn't it? But I wonder, I mean, what has actually changed in terms of international collaboration since Starmer came to power? Because I don't think there is any actual change that I can think of anyway. Maybe I'm missing something. Tackling the problem upstream with greater international collaboration. I mean, that's a nice aspiration, but in 5 months, I'm not sure there is a plan to actually do that. And also, we have a decent amount of international collaboration with the French, but they don't seem to be doing what we've paid them £500 million a year to do.
Yeah, I mean, in principle, I'm not against international collaboration. I think it's a commonsensical thing to pursue. But we've already been doing this. We collaborate with Interpol, Europol, Frontex, the European Commission, as you say, the French, the Turkish government. I mean, to be fair to Keir Starmer, he has thrashed out a few agreements with the Eastern European Balkan countries.
And the Germans as well. I know there was a loophole that Yvette Cooper closed in recent days. Do you think that will make any major difference, Mike?
I think it will lead to the shutting down of a few operations. But again, this is like, playing a game of whack-a-mole. Once you shut down one operation, another one pops up. Yeah. The best case scenario for Labour is making life difficult for the gangs, but be under no illusion they're not going to smash them.
Yeah, and ramping up returns of those with no rights to be here, just to go through the final point of the Downing Street sort of statement on this. We know that there are a few people at least who've gone back to Pakistan, but it's not nearly the levels that need to be when it comes to illegal immigrants, is it?
No, it isn't. Before the general election, Labour Party said they would speed up deportations to safe countries. And again, I agree with that. It's low-hanging fruit. The Conservatives should have done better on that front. But here's the problem. The vast majority of the people arriving illegally across the English Channel are from countries that are deemed unsafe by the human rights authorities. And unless you change the Human Rights Act, those people are going to stay here, regardless of whether their asylum application is successful.